what do we got on the works today?
We got a lot. I don't even know where to start today.
Let's start off with our rates, because I think that was some good news.
That was absolutely last episode. I think we were discussing, we were somewhere around 6.5%. We just looked up rates today for conventional financing, 5% down. Rate came up at 6.125.
Which is great news, right?
Yes.
And especially in light of the Fed fund rates increasing. When we're filming this episode, actually, they haven't yet made the announcement, but we're projected to see that that's going to go up by 75 basis points. But that again affects short-term rates. So this is good to see ahead of that they're actually lowering the interest rates.
Right.
Although what has that done for our home buying experience right now for our buyers?
I think it's just put up people into a question, I guess. You know, some people are deciding, is now a good time? Do I wait? Do I go? And some are taking advantage of that, that opportunity, that window that opens up for that specific buyer.
Yeah, I actually had a client yesterday that called, and she has been timing the market. So she's been trying to time the market, at least I should say, because she called me at the end of before the end of last year and was looking at getting pre-qualified. Of course, rates were in the 3% range, but she was so certain that the sales prices were going to drop because there was just no way that we could continue to increase in sales prices. And as we all know, we increased all the way up until I think last month was our first official decline or decrease in sales price increases. And now she's worried about where the interest rates are, so much so that she was panicking, saying, I need you to get me locked in. I need you to get me pre-approved again, because the Fed funds are because the U.S. government's going to be increasing rates tomorrow, which is supposed to be the 28th, I guess, of July. And so coming to understand really what she was wanting to accomplish at the end of the day, I was like, what are you wanting to have happen? Like, what matters to you most? Is it the interest rate? Or is it really a payment? Or is it, so we went through so many different scenarios. At the end of the day, she kind of forgot about the fact that that the rates were going to go up. We got her pre-approved. She understands where her payment's going to be based on where we are today. And she's moving forward.
Right. And I think that's ultimately where it all lies. It's the payment. Yeah. Obviously, we care about the interest rate, but kind of like what we spoke about in our other episode, marry the home, date the rate.
Yeah.
I think as a consumer, we get so caught up in, are we getting the best rate? We get FOMO, right? Are we actually buying at a higher interest rate when I could have bought? Well, that time has passed. That ship has sailed for now. And I think as soon as they see the house, they love it, and they're okay with that payment, I think their mind shifts.
Right. It has to, right? Because what else? Like, if you're expecting to time the market, you'll be 6 months later wishing that you had bought the house, with a lower interest rate, or you'll be 6 months down the road wishing that, maybe you had taken advantage. Because what happens if rates go up and we're looking at an 8% rate environment, right? Versus where we are today.
6 would not look so bad.
Exactly. Yes. Well, I think that was the other topic we wanted to talk about is the buy versus rent. Because are you getting a lot of clients that are saying, that they're renting today? Yes. One, their rents are going up. And so now they're on the fence of, is this the right time to buy? Because their rents are going up.
Yes, I've had several clients who've said, you know what, because of the pricing of the home, the interest rates, affordability is just not in my future right now to purchase a home. So they opt for renting.
Yeah, but the rental market is going up now. I mean, we had talked a little bit about in the Green Valley area. I think you mentioned a single story apartment.
Yes.
Right? Or not single story, a 1-bedroom apartment was going for how much in your area?
If I can remember, something a lot
in that range,
a lot higher than what I would have ever imagined.
Right.
It didn't have a lot of amenities. It's just like an apartment complex.
Yeah.
In that area.
And it's a 1-bedroom. Mm-hmm. So we actually have this tool that can actually, and we'll put that up on the screen, but it's a buy versus rent. So we did this scenario for a sales price of $450,000 versus renting. Now, thinking again that buying a home is a long-term play. I think we mentioned it on several episodes the other 3 episodes, that if you're going to do this for a short-term period, this might not be the right time, right? Because if you're looking at it as, okay, I'm going to be here for 1 year, I'm going to buy, sell, whatever the case may be, then maybe this is not the right time for you. But looking at this, so based on a $450,000 sales price home with 3.5% down, although that's not quite FHA loan limit for us, but very close, that loan or that total payment is about $3,400 monthly payment. Now, if you take into consideration for the same sales price home, to rent that home today is about $2,600. But if you look 9 years down the road, it'll end up being $4,200. Right. And I think that's the hard part. People are not seeing.
They're thinking short term.
Absolutely. Right. And then on top of that, so take out the fact that, okay, maybe for the first few years you're going to be paying more in rent than you are in mortgage. But what are the things that happen inside of when you're making a mortgage payment? What are you doing? You're paying down the principal reduction, right?
Correct.
We're hoping for appreciation, which we've had a little bit of an anomaly on appreciation today. So what would be an average appreciation number or percentage?
Is it 3 or 4?
Right. So even if it's 3 or 4%, you'll see here, so $61,000 would be what you'd be paying down on principal reduction. Appreciation gain would be $212,000. So total would be approximately $216,000 if you factor in that negative cash flow that you would have based off of the first couple of years of renting. But this is based on 9 years.
Yeah.
So to me, if I were a buyer taking a look to see if this is a good time for us to buy or rent, what would you do looking at these numbers?
Looking at these numbers, I definitely would buy. It just makes a lot more sense. It's all those little steps that add up to big steps.
Right.
It's just in life in general. We could go on a diet and we can cut out soda.
Yeah.
And that might not be a big deal, but in the as it progresses, as you go on, it will make a difference.
Yeah, like one day of not drinking soda, which has a ton of sugar and no, there's no calories, not necessarily, right? In soda? I haven't had soda in a while. Yeah. If you do a Diet Coke, there's no calories in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, eliminating just that one thing,
correct,
right, will help you reduce X amount of calories, which then could potentially help you be healthier, but also to reduce or to lower your weight. What is that called? Reduce your calories and lose weight.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. Lose weight.
Or like studying. You can study 15 minutes a day instead of trying to cram it in last minute, the day before the test. If you just 15 minutes every single day, it will accumulate and you'll retain a lot of that information and be more prepared. So same thing as, when it comes to housing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think the other thing we wanted to go over was down payment assistance. Speaking of back to school, since you brought that up, with the down payment assistance programs, we had, there's the Home is Possible, which has the
great one for teachers.
Yeah. You want to talk about that one?
Yes. So with the Home is Possible, they have a down payment assistance options for all Clark County School District teachers from kindergarten through 12th grade. And what they do is they provide $7,500 towards their down payment. And it's basically free money. They give them a below market interest rate, which right now, if we were to go off of today's rates, it would give them 5.75. They do have to live in that home for 5 years, and that's pretty much the only requirement that they have to do. Aside from obviously credit score, they have to have a 660 or above, and income limits. They can make up to $105,000 individually, or if they apply with somebody else, the max would be $135,000. Wow. Income.
Yeah, and the max loan amount would be really FHA, right? Which
correct,
is what, $420,000?
Yes.
Yeah. So as we're heading back to school, which by the time this episode will be we'll be a couple days into the first day or first week of school. Woohoo! Yes. Congratulations to all the parents who get to.
We survived another summer.
Yay! But make sure that you relay this information to your teachers. I mean, what better gift to give them for the first day of school than a flyer from Michelle or Myra that says, you've got a down payment assistance program called the Teacher Program. But it really, the great thing about this program, it's been around for a while. Every year they think about trying to expire it, but they always extend it.
It's always nice to see when they extend it.
Yeah. And it's a great, we've helped several teachers get into homes based off of this program, utilizing this program.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you can think about like the environment for buying a home today, there's, you may have more opportunity as a buyer. We talked about that last episode, that you may have seller contribution, right? So imagine taking the $7,500, maybe you apply that to to some of your down payment, and then you get some seller closing costs or seller contribution, you could really get into a home for little to no
money down.
Yeah.
Prior to COVID and the housing market and limited availability and it being a really strong seller's market, we did see a lot of seller contributions. And I closed quite a few loans where the buyer literally maybe $1,000 at some loans, literally they had no money down, nothing out of pocket. So
they even got their earnest money back, right?
Yes,
right?
Yes. It happened with a few VA ones as well.
Yeah.
So it's opening up the market now.
Yeah.
So it's maybe harder in certain ways, but it's also getting easier in other ways to purchase a home.
Yeah. So I think if you're really looking at wanting to buy a home and it's always been a goal of yours, the first step is to reach out to Myra or myself and see what options are available for you. Get away from the noise of like, hey, the rates are here. Because at the end of the day, it's you making the mortgage payment, you falling in love with the home. And we want to make sure whatever that is for you, that we can help you get there, whether it's today, a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever, or 6 months from now, whatever the case may be. But we definitely have more programs. I think we had another program that just launched for down payment assistance, which it's been a while. It's been a few months, right? Because the down payment assistance with the shift in interest rates, a few of the down payment assistance programs actually went away.
Yes.
Or not necessarily went away, but they became a little bit more strict in guidance or guidelines. Is that the right way to say it?
Yes, in guidance, a little more strict, but also there were days where based on the market shifts and the rates, they just weren't available completely.
True. Yeah. But now we have one through Nevada Rural Housing Association. Nevada Rural Housing Authority. Sorry, I've always called it association. NRHA. They're rolling out their Home at Last, the 4% Advantage program. And that's going to offer us so the rate today is 7.125, but that's going to give you 4% assistance on an FHA loan. That would be the same scenario, right? Where you have somebody.
Absolutely, because FHA is only going to require 3.5% down payment. Therefore, it's going to cover your down payment 100%, and it'll still allow for a portion of your closing costs to be covered with that.
Yeah, and again, assuming if you could get seller contribution, then you could really end up being in a position where you don't
pair it with like a 2% seller contribution.
Yeah.
That's literally in that home, no money down.
Or just your earnest money deposit. Yeah, so the Home at Last program is specific to certain areas in Las Vegas. So Enterprise, a little section in Southern Summerlin, there's Whitney, Pahrump, I know is so there definitely are specific areas for that. Again, reach out to Myra or myself if you have any questions on that program, or if there's a specific home that you're looking at. If you're a realtor also and you want information about this, there's a lot of marketing material that we can provide for you. But one thing we want to talk about too is the earnest money deposit, because although in these scenarios that we just spoke about, you could get your earnest money deposit back, but recently we've seen some of our clients actually cancel, right? Which has led to, in some cases, them forfeiting their earnest money deposit.
And it wasn't just our clients.
No, correct. We've heard stories of clients. You're right.
We heard from a little bird.
Yeah. We've had some great title reps that have given us, information as far as the fact that there have been some cancellations, for multiple reasons.
You had just mentioned it. You said that somewhere about 20% of all purchases or contracts being going into contract, we're seeing them cancel. Mm-hmm. And just for reasons as far as cold feet, interest rate is much higher, became like an affordability. So just, tons of reasons. Everybody had their own, but 20%, that's kind of a high number.
Yeah. And I think, so I personally had a client who went through a probate situation. So, for probate, that actually has to go into an attorney who actually approves the sales price. That was a 4-month process. And up until the day that he actually because when you go through the approval process, the attorney decides on who to sell it, and somebody could actually come in and bid over you, and then that attorney could decide to take that over that other person. But they actually chose him, and he decided to cancel and forfeit his earnest money deposit because of the concern and uncertainty around the market. He was really worried that sales prices were going to fall. and that he wasn't getting the best deal, even though the appraisal came in and it was $10,000 more than his sales price. Yeah. So moral of the story on that is the earnest money deposits. He thought he could actually back out of it, and not only because it was waiting up until that time frame, but the contingency aspect had already passed. Yeah. The probate piece of it was really the only thing that was remaining, and so unfortunately he was not able to.
So far into the process. That unfortunately he was out his earnest money.
Right. Yeah. And so definitely pay close attention to your contingencies, especially with the earnest money deposit.
And that's why it's so important also to work with not only, great lenders, yes, but also, a great realtor. And because if you're not working with the right people, you're going to miss those timelines, because we don't read these contracts every day as consumers. So, definitely who you work with for lender and realtor really makes a difference.
I would agree. And listen, I think things will probably change back to because that's a high percentage for cancellations. Yes. I think we saw that also with COVID, right? As we head into COVID, there are a lot of different cancellations for many different reasons. So I would assume that would change as I feel like there's a little bit more, I don't want to say certainty, but there's a little bit more confidence. The buyers that are out there now shopping know what to expect.
Yes.
They're not so nervous about it, and they can afford the payment and such.
Yeah.
So.
And, last week we also mentioned that there was a slowdown in buying.
Yeah.
And so we hadn't seen that for the longest time, and we had more inventory than we'd had in, several years.
Yeah.
But looking at just previous years' data, so we went up double or whatever during COVID, during those times where we had those low rates. But now we're almost leveling out to pre-pandemic levels. So like 2018, 2019, we're still on pace to average about what we did those years. So it's kind of crazy to think a little bit how in our eyes we're like, oh, we're slowing down, but we were so busy when the interest rates were so low that now we're just stabilizing. And that's, why we're seeing the correction, because of the rates and stuff.
And I think that's part of the perspective of a buyer too. Like, I feel like we don't live past a couple of years, right? And so people are like, but that was the world that we lived in. But like you're saying, the reality of it is we are where we were pre-pandemic. Even with interest rates, I think our interest rates were hovering. I know I locked a couple in at that 5.75, almost 6% interest rate before the pandemic, and then we were able to refinance them the moment that the rates dropped. So, I think it goes back to saying, marry the house, date the interest rate. That's going to be our token slogan for this month.
Yes.
Or next quarter, whatever it may be.
Until the rates drop.
There you go. Which I do think that we'll probably see a little bit of rate adjustments.
Right.
With respect to mortgage rates. We'll see what it'll look like as far as the Fed fund rates. But.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say is typically when the Fed fund rates go as planned, when they raise them as they say they're going to raise, we actually see benefit.
Yeah.
So if they were to go on tomorrow and say, hey, you know what, we're not going to do anything, that might cause like a frenzy, and then rates would definitely jump. But I think if everything rolls out as it's presented, then we usually see a softening on our end.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and hopefully that will be the case for us as we head into the coming months and wrapping up this year, which is even another crazy thing that we can say. We're on the back half of 2022. Wow, is that what we say?
Yeah.
Beta's like, yeah, whatever. All right. So what's going on? Anything else that we want to talk about for rates and mortgages? Are we going to jump back? So we're going to talk about our live part of our show, which is our football season is
it's right next week, our first pregame.
I know. Who's your team? Is it Raiders?
My team is
Is it Raiders or is it
I feel
a certain person?
Yes, a certain person. However, I think the Raiders, although, might not be everybody's favorite, it's a Vegas team.
You got to support
so you have to support. But for me, Tom Brady, always.
Really? So you're a Buccaneers fan,
sure.
Right? Not a Patriots. She won't tell it because her husband watches our show, and so.
So I love the Patriots, and I love the. They just had such a good team, like Edelman and Gronk and Tom Brady, and they had such a good chemistry. So watching it changed to, Tampa, it's so weird to adjust and, like.
Well, the colors are way off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally off. Coaching, but I mean, it's not the same team.
It's not.
No.
It's not.
Yeah. But so you're true, like if you had to pick, if this were a post on Instagram and you had to pick Tom Brady or Patriots, who would you post for?
I mean, sorry, Patriots, but I'm going with Tom Brady.
Wow. Well, who is your team, or are you a Patriots and or Tom Brady fan? I actually like Brady. We saw him. This was a while ago, but we saw him at the Patriots, and I've watched, or not Patriots. We saw him play the Jets. But I've just watching him and how his demeanor is, and honestly what he's led his teams to. Right.
He's so dedicated.
Yeah. Very committed.
Yeah.
But he's just genuinely a good guy. Like,
definitely a good-looking guy.
love it. I love it. And as we were talking earlier, you said Adele is making her is officially
making a return to her residency in Las Vegas.
Yeah. So for all of, and I didn't know this, I didn't realize that she had canceled. I heard about the hoopla when everybody, when she did cancel. I thought it was just the one show. But I didn't realize she completely canceled the residency, but she's back.
She's back, and I believe her residency starts in November. And I saw the article that said whoever had tickets for her original residency would have first dibs to purchase her new tickets.
Yeah, because those were going for a pretty penny. Did you buy a ticket?
No.
Or two? No?
No.
Me neither. I can't, times are lower right now with rates. I'm just kidding. All right, well, that is the end of, that's all I got. You got anything else that you want to bring up?
No. By the time you guys see this, it'll be first week back to school.
Yay!
So good luck to all
parents. You'll have a high schooler and a new, she's going to a new school, right?
Yes.
Middle school. Yeah, I'll have a senior. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Good luck to all the parents out there.
Yeah.
Learning
and the kids.
And the kids. Yeah. New schedules, right?
New
routes, new
really
schedules.
Early.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, make sure that you like, subscribe. If any of this information you enjoyed, please make sure to share this. We'll be back in another 2 weeks. And with that, we're out.
Bye.
Bye.